Hello, and thank you for watching this December 19th weather update, brought to you by Agrible, the makers of Morning Farm Report. My name is Eric Snodgrass, and I am a senior atmospheric scientist and co-founder of Agrible. The Arctic air that invaded the United States this past week was impressive to say the least. On Saturday, December 17th, the cold front was so sharply defined that in north-central Texas, there was nearly a 50-degree temperature gradient over just a few miles north to south. Remember from last week that this air came all the way from Siberia. Thankfully, it moderated some as it crossed the Arctic. Here is one of my favorite cities in Siberia where I like to monitor the weather. It's a town called Yakutsk, Russia, and a typical day in this region hits a high temperature of minus 30 degrees Fahrenheit. So to see that on Sunday they warmed up to minus 23.8 degrees Fahrenheit before the wind chill factor was put in there, it was a very warm day for them. Now, just as a side note, the typical nighttime temperature that they experience is minus 40 degrees Fahrenheit, which means that exposed skin will freeze in 5 minutes. Oh, and if you own a car in this town, you can't turn it off during the cold months unless you have a block heater. So many people that live here leave their vehicles running from November through the beginning of April, or the block might freeze and seize in on the pistons. Well, here's what that front looked like as it passed through the Oklahoma Mesonet of weather sensors on Saturday. Oklahoma has one of the best networks of weather stations, which during the summer months are used to monitor conditions that form tornadic supercell thunderstorms. But on Saturday, it caught one of the most powerful cold fronts that I've seen in some time. Now, before we dig into the forecast, this week on Wednesday, the Northern Hemisphere will have its winter solstice. The word solstice means sun stop, and this refers to the elevation angle of the sun at noon on this day. At Agrible headquarters at noon on Wednesday, the sun will be just 26 degrees above the horizon, the lowest it stops as it descends in the sky throughout the year at noon. Well, even though the Earth is closest to the sun in wintertime in the Northern Hemisphere, the low sun angles, which are a result of the Earth's tilt on its axis, make this our cold season. That same tilt means that most of the Corn Belt will only have between 8 and 9 hours of daylight on Wednesday. Thankfully, after this day, though, we start to gain daylight hours again. But if you live north of the Arctic Circle, the sun won't even rise on Wednesday. And if you lived on the North Pole with Santa, well, you haven't seen the sun since it set on September 21st, 3 months ago. Okay, well, here's the good news. Despite the lack of daylight hours, the Arctic air does not stay locked in place all week. It will be quite cold until Tuesday and Wednesday as the jet stream recovers from the deep trough that it was in last weekend and settles into a more zonal flow pattern. That's where the jet stream primarily flows from the west to the east, like you see here. By Wednesday afternoon, several locations in the Corn Belt will see above freezing temperatures too. This will feel like shorts and t-shirt weather after the cold temperatures we've seen over the last couple of weeks. What has me concerned is the weather for next weekend. This map shows the configuration of the jet stream at noon on Sunday, December 25th, Christmas Day. A deep trough is forecast to develop in the Central Plains, while a large ridge forms over the eastern half of the United States. Working in sync with this upper-level flow pattern is the surface air temperature patterns. Notice how south of the large ridge, the eastern part of the country is going to experience temperatures well above average. But in that trough, surface air temperatures will fall far below average again. Now, the reason why meteorologists focus so much on the configuration of the jet stream is not just because of the temperature anomalies. It's because of the curves in the flow of the jet stream provide the upper-level support that's needed to develop high and low pressure systems. Well, coming out of the base of that trough is our next winter storm, and this map shows the long-range GFS forecast from Sunday, December 18th, for the position of the Christmas Day low-pressure system we're now forecasting. Now, a lot can change this week on the timing and the position and the strength of the system, but the GFS has been consistent in developing this winter storm around Christmas, and it will impact travel. By late on Christmas night, there could be widespread snow across a broad section of the Corn Belt, but due to the track of this low-pressure system passing through northern Missouri, southern Iowa, and northern Illinois, this region and through here will likely see a lot of rain rather than snow. Now, please understand that a lot can change and will change in the position and timing of this low-pressure system over the coming days. If it dips farther south, the wintry precipitation moves south too. So, keep a very close eye on the forecast this week as it could impact your holiday travel. Now, two things to cover as we wrap up our video this week. First, the pattern we are settling into for the rest of this year, after this bitterly cold air relents, looks to generally have a trough of cooler air over the northwest and north central United States, while a broad ridge extends over the east. Now, this is the overall pattern. It will modulate at times, and troughs and ridges will move through this pattern. But this pattern may hang on through the first couple of weeks of the new year. However, long-range model runs suggest that another big pattern change is coming back, where very cold air may invade the central states again by mid-January. Now, looking out this far, there is a lot of uncertainty, but I want you to know what I'm watching right now in terms of the weather for the second half of the month of January. Now, the second thing that I want to get into has to do with South America. As we have been reporting, the overall condition of the Brazilian crop looks good right now and is without large regions of stress. This map shows the next 10 days of precipitation as forecast by the GFS model. Now, there are some pockets of dryness that have been reported in Brazil, but this is not widespread. The concern over the dryness in Argentina is waning too, and even though this region looks dry here, it's too far south and out of the major growing regions to matter too much. The overall picture, again, is that for the next couple of weeks, weather in South America continues to look favorable for their upcoming crop. Well, as always, we at Agrible will bring you the latest and best weather forecast information through our morning farm report so that you can efficiently plan your operations. We thank you for your attention and hope you look forward to our next weather video update. Thank you.